After the break in London, a heat wave will hit the capital this weekend, triggering the first heat health alert of the year. Tonight, summer finally arrives with a bang. A heat wave with thunderstorms will hit the capital this weekend, triggering the first heat health alert of the year. Also ahead, former mayoral candidate and lockdown partygoer Sean Bailey is honoured with a peerage by Boris Johnson. Plus,
heating up in this tourist hotspot, anger at the council for trying to ban ice cream vans from the local area. And the
boys are back. McFly tell us about their big return to the capital.
It makes us feel like kids again. Like it's a chance for us to go on stage and, you know, and jump around like idiots for a couple of hours.
Good evening. It is going to be a scorching weekend, so much so a health alert is in place to help hospitals and care services ready themselves for more people getting ill in the high temperatures. They could hit 30 degrees in parts of the capital, hotter than Spain, but without the air conditioning, of course. The nights are likely to be hot and humid too, and there's also a risk of thunderstorms and heavy rain. Helen Keenan has the latest.
The first taste of summer in the city. Temperatures are expected to soar to 31 degrees tomorrow, and Londoners are already basking in today's hot weather.
It's the best feeling. It really is the best feeling.
Yeah, overdue vitamin D, which I think we all needed to have a good...
And it means you can eat ice cream.
please, can it just stay?
Very happy. It's a nice weather. We enjoy. As we have it every time, we should enjoy every time it's gone.
But with the sun comes safety concerns. The RNLI worried people will take risks with open water swimming.
There's a lot of dangers of open water swimming. We've gone through the snagging underneath the surface. You don't know what is there. You don't know how deep the water is.
And a warning for passengers using the transport network over the weekend.
We have air conditioning on about 40% of the trains across the network, and where we can, we bring in big cooling machines and fans and extractors that take out as much heat as possible. It does get quite warm at times, so we would encourage people just to plan their journeys, take their water and look out for each other.
The first heat health alert of the year has been issued ahead of the expected surge in temperatures.
The UK Health Security Agency and the Met Office said the alert would be in place for 72 hours from this morning. London has been issued with a yellow warning for heat rather than amber, and that's because the capital is used to coping in the warmer weather. But there is also an alert in place for thunderstorms.
It would mean Lidos like these would have to temporarily shut. Here in London Fields, they're already fully booked.
So far, we probably had about 800 to 1,000 people. We are expecting another 1,000 people to come through today.
Over 65s, those with pre-existing medical conditions and children are the most vulnerable in the heat and are being advised to take extra care.
And how are you staying safe in the sun? That must be on your mind with the little one.
We just do a shadow when it's possible, and we put a lot of protection.
I've got a dog who gets very hot, so we just stay under the trees and stay cool. She chases the squirrels. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my hat ready and I've got my sun cream, which my mum would have reminded me to wear. So yeah, best to stay safe, stay hydrated as well.
In some parts of the capital, it'll be hotter than Spain. They'll be hoping it's a taste of what's to come for the rest of the summer. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
And of course, we'll have the forecast in about 20 minutes' time. Next, though, the driver of the tram that derailed in Croydon, killing 7 passengers and seriously injuring 19 more, has denied being asleep in the moments before the crash happened. During cross-examination, a jury heard claims that Alfred Doris had missed an opportunity to stop the incident from happening. From the Old Bailey, Carolyn Sim reports.
As Alfred Doris, seen in the middle, finished giving evidence, there were no tears from him today. For the second day, the 49-year-old answered questions about how the tram he was driving crashed on a curve in the tracks as it sped out of the Sandilands tunnel at more than 3 times over the limit.
Mr. Doris was again asked about his claim that he'd become disorientated and confused as he travelled through the tunnel. How long did it last, and what steps had he taken to keep his passengers safe while he was feeling that way? Mr. Doris told the court it had lasted no more than a second. It came and it went. He'd continued driving and seen a dark stretch of track ahead of him and thought, "I'm okay, I'm heading to Lloyd's Park."
Despite thinking he was travelling in the opposite direction, Mr. Doris told the court he felt alert again and was concentrating. But the prosecuting lawyer asked why, if that was the case, hadn't he noticed lights on the embankment, which wouldn't have appeared in the other direction. The lawyer asked why Mr. Doris hadn't applied hazard brakes, which would have had a significant impact on his ability to negotiate the bend. Mr. Doris said, "By the time I could see the Sandilands curve, it was too late to do anything. I was thrown from the chair and it was a mess." The lawyer asked, "Might it have been that you were asleep?" He replied, "No, I wasn't sleeping." The lawyer said, "Isn't it the case that you just can't bring yourself to accept the truth?" To which he replied, "Sleep isn't the same as disorientation. I just remember becoming disorientated and confused." Some of the families of the 7 people who died in Croydon that day were in court. 19 people were seriously injured. Alfred Doris denies a single charge of failing to take reasonable care at work. The trial continues next week. Carolyn Sim, ITV News at the Old Bailey.
In the last hour, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's long-awaited resignation honours list has been published. It's a controversial list due to the way Johnson was forced to leave office, but the controversy doesn't end there. Callum Watkinson is here to explain more. Go on then, what's causing the latest?
Well, one appointment in particular I think is going to raise some eyebrows. Duncan Bailey. He's been a member of the London Assembly since 2016, ran against Sadiq Khan for the post of mayor in 2021. But it's this picture from that campaign that lots of people will remember. It shows Mr. Bailey at a party at Conservative headquarters with his staff in December 2020. And this was, of course, a time when indoor socialising was banned. Now, it's important to say that the police did investigate this. The Met eventually decided to take no action. They said at the time that there was insufficient evidence to disprove the version of events provided by attendees to a standard that would meet the threshold required. But Mr. Bailey himself did say it was an error of judgment, and he stepped down from chairing the Assembly's Police and Crime Committee. Of course, there's going to be some pretty vocal pushback on this, I think, because Boris Johnson himself was fined for doing something very similar. But nevertheless, Sean Bailey, soon to be Lord Bailey, Duncan, assuming that he accepts this appointment.
OK. Callum, thank you. The MP from Enfield Southgate, Bambos Lambos, has been suspended from the Labour Party after a complaint about his behaviour. The Shadow Foreign Minister has had the whip removed and will sit in the Commons as an independent MP. In a statement, he said it is right and proper that the investigation takes place and that he will cooperate fully. And after the joy of yesterday's open-top bus parade through East London, West Ham have confirmed David Moyes will stay on as the team's manager next season. The team's historic win at the Europa Conference League in Prague this week under Moyes' management means he will stay on until next summer. Greenwich Council has announced plans to ban ice cream vans from more than 30 streets across the borough. They say the vans attract nuisance and pollute the air as they have to keep their engines running all day. Kath O'Pata is in Greenwich for us this evening. So, Kath, how's this going down there then?
Well, yes, Duncan, I mean, you know it's summer when ice cream vans like this one come out to play. Well, if you live in Greenwich, that could all be coming to an end. That's because the council are thinking of banning them in 30 roads across the borough. Now, as you can imagine, not everyone's too happy about this decision, especially the younger ones.
I think it's really sad, and I think it's somebody's income, it's somebody's livelihood, and We're being made to feel guilty about everything now. There's nothing we can't do.
Well, I like ice cream then, so why?
You can't get Mississippi anywhere else.
Why? Why?
I mean, that's a very good question. Well, earlier Greenwich Council told us we already welcome the trading of ice cream vans in hundreds of locations in the borough, but trading from a vehicle which goes from place to place can cause unacceptable levels of nuisance, as well as having a negative impact on air quality from engine idling in sensitive areas. Now, it's worth mentioning that nothing's been decided just yet. The council will be voting on this issue next week, so I guess we just have to wait and see.
Kath in Greenwich, thanks very much. Still to come on the programme, it's definitely ice cream weather when we get the forecast. And from Fame Academy to family life, David and Carrie Grant talk about parenting with a difference. Plus,
it's all about you. It's all about you, baby.
it's all about them as McFly returned to the stage in London. But first, a mechanic from Hackney has written an open letter to the Mayor of London calling for help after his business rent was raised by more than £50,000 a year. Leonard Maloney has traded under the railway arches in Hackney since the late 90s, but ever since his landlords, TfL, trebled the rent, he says it's been impossible to keep up with payments, and he's not the only one struggling, as Daniel Henry reports.
Len is a mechanic with money on his mind.
Well, I'm a bit stressed. I use the word bit, but really I'm very stressed.
He's been in business since 1981, but since TfL became his landlord, he says his rent has rocketed, tripling in price.
TfL say that you owe how much?
£70,000.
In rent?
In arrears. And if I don't pay that rent, if I don't pay that arrears, they won't negotiate a new lease.
Len says he's been paying what he can afford, but today is deadline day, where TfL say he has to decide whether to pay what he owes in one go or leave when his lease ends in August. His customers aren't happy.
He's been here for ages. Women trust him, which a lot of women don't trust other garages. He's got all local people around here. He's got people from out the area that come here. He's recommended by other people as well. He's a good man, he's an honest man, and they're just trying to rip the life out of him. It's disgusting.
I mean, yeah, there's only so many breweries you can put in railway arches, and I think that there seems to be a lot of them, and I appreciate you've got to find a use for them, but businesses like this have been using them for a long, long time very successfully, and I think it seems a shame to lose them simply because of money.
Do you feel as though TfL are treating you fairly?
TfL has never treated me fairly from the first time they became my landlord. I had a previous landlord, and when they came, my world went upside down.
TfL say their finances were battered during the pandemic. They lost as much as 95% of all riders across the network. They say they've been trying to support businesses like Len to deal with the rent increases and the rent arrears, but Len's business isn't the only one around here that's been finding it difficult to pay up. Have TfL put your rent up as well?
Yes.
Can you tell me how much?
It was from 30,000 up to 62,000.
A year?
Yes. My mum took a loan out under her name because the bailiffs were going to come down and take the business away. We didn't want that to happen.
TfL say they've supported small businesses through the pandemic and have offered a range of options to help people like Len. They also say if he doesn't pay up, they will consider enforcement action.
This is the deadline, and I'm not going to go without a fight.
Daniel Henry, ITV News.
OK, the ITV News continues at 6:30. Here's a look ahead now with Geraint.
Coming up, Donald Trump is facing criminal charges over top-secret documents in another first for a former US president. He says he's been ordered to appear at a federal court next week. We'll ask what it could mean for his future electoral chances. Also ahead, new heat health alerts in force for many parts of the country. The warnings in place as temperatures soar. Plus, all the build-up ahead of the Champions League final. Can City complete the treble? Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Tonight at the Royal Albert Hall, there will be a celebration of the impact Caribbean culture has had on British life. Among the many talents on stage for the Windrush 75 concerts, Craig David, Beverly Knight and Yolanda Brown. Anton Allen is there for us now. Hi, Antoine.
Hi, it was the 22nd of June 1948 when the HMT Empire Windrush arrived at Tilbury Docks, bringing with it a generation of people from the Commonwealth who go on to help rebuild Britain, but also play their part of rebuilding their own lives and making new generations to come. But in 2018, there was a revelation of the Windrush scandal. Those that were invited here, some of them were deported, some of them lived in a hostile environment situation, which meant that they felt like at any moment they could be removed from their family and their friends. But today's event is to celebrate the contribution from entertainment to comedy to music of those that come from the Windrush generation and those that are still around. I've been lucky enough to be joined by Yolanda Brown. You're a saxophonist that's literally been around the world, but why was it important for you to be here today?
It's an absolute honour to be here today. It is a celebration, but also I think it's a cause for reflection and remembering what the previous generations did for us to be here to celebrate them today.
Of course, you're an expert when it comes to music. Just how has the Windrush generation impacted British music?
Oh, you still hear it in the music today. Music that's being released right now has got the influences of the Caribbean, has got the even the language, you know. And so I think the influence is very, very strong. And also, this generation are still very, very proud of where we've come from.
Of course, I know when you were young, you dreamed of being a racing car driver, but now you're a saxophonist. You've got an OBE. You came from Jamaican parents. So how did that Caribbean twist impact your jazz music?
Oh, everything. I love to play a mix of reggae, jazz and soul. That's what I'll be playing tonight. And, you know, I'll be enjoying it through the music, but also remembering my grandma who came during that Windrush generation time and who sadly I lost in December. So thinking about everything that she did for me, the sacrifices that they made, and just to make her proud, continue making her proud.
And lastly, not everyone can be here today, but it will be on BBC Radio 2 later in a few days' time. What can people expect?
Oh, the Chineke Orchestra, accompanying such a plethora of amazing genres and artists. We've got Beverly Knight, Craig David, Loose Ends are going to be there as well. We've got poetry. There is really something for everybody. I think it will be a celebration, but we'll also be really, really thankful for how far we've come.
And briefly, who are you excited to hear?
Oh, I think Hack Baker. I met him at rehearsals yesterday and he's got such a fun spirit. I think it will be a really great performance.
Well, Yolanda, thank you for your time. If you want to hear the rest, you can tune in to BBC Radio. Yolanda, thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you need to get back and get to rehearsal, so have a great performance.
Thank you very much.
Antoine and Yolanda, thank you so much. Next tonight, to a TV couple who have described parenting as like being hit by tsunamis, wave after wave threatening to overwhelm their family. David and Carrie Grant are known for their work as vocal coaches on Pop Idol and Fame Academy and much more besides. Less well known are their challenges at home. The pair have 4 neurodivergent children, 2 of whom have autism. Neurodivergence is when people's brains develop or work differently, and they've written a book to help parents built on their experiences of parenthood, gender identity and mental health issues. And they join me now. Welcome to you both.
Just to say that's not our children in that picture, but they are rather lovely.
Whose children were they?
2 are ours and one's just a friend.
OK, I'm sorry. Wrong photo. My apologies. Our mistake, and I'm sorry about that. You've got 4 children,
yes.
though. 3 are non-binary, aren't they? And that's where they reject male and female
No, one
genders.
is non-binary, one is trans and one is gender fluid.
OK, sorry. 2 have ADHD and 2 have autism.
Yes.
And in the past, they have had experiences of wanting to take their own lives. That's a lot, isn't it, for parents?
Yeah, it's a huge amount. And one of the reasons why we wanted to write the book was because post-COVID, we know that for 80% of 17 to 19-year-olds have said they've now got mental health challenges. Yeah. So we know that parenting is changing literally as we sit here. And parents are saying, what do? We can't access services. Only 25% of people that are referred to CAMHS get an appointment. What can we be doing? And what we're saying is, actually, weirdly, we're slightly ahead of the curve because we've been facing these things for years. Many parents like us with neurodivergent children face those same challenges. And so it's really to come with a lot of strategies that can help parents during this time.
David, if a child comes home and says they're experiencing these thoughts and feelings, how would you best advise a parent to start dealing with it?
I think the most instinctive and natural thing is to say, no, everything's going to be fine. Everyone likes you, you know, you're popular, you're loved, you've got friends, the teachers think you're great. The reality is, when children come home and they say, I'm really struggling, is to sit and listen to them and to walk through it with them. I think that usually people either say, you know, we have to have quite assertive parenting or we have to have really passive parenting. And what we sort of like advocate in the book is that there are ways and there are strategies that allow you as a parent to remain in control of the narrative but also walk through it with your child.
Yeah, I mean, also, I suppose, just in terms of practical terms, go to your GP. We all know, anyone watching telly now is going, yeah, I did that, and now we're on a 6-month waiting list and we can't meet the threshold. So whilst we are waiting, there is so much that we can be doing to shape-shift our parenting to help our children during those crisis times.
In terms of gender identity, your children have rejected their birth names, is that right?
I don't think they rejected them. They're just like, this is our name. I don't think we see it as rejection as such, but yeah.
Well, that was going to be my question, because, and in 3 cases, rejected their genders or decided they're not the genders that, you know, you thought at birth. How do you take that as parents?
Well, one thing that we say is, David and I have these discussions, which is fix your face, which is your children are going to come every now and again with something that is a bit out the box, and you've got to be ready for that. So we had these kinds of conversations well in advance, so that by the time our children started to have these conversations with us, we weren't going, oh, or what does that mean? We actually made sure that we were clued up and tuned into our children.
Because it almost doesn't matter what you say, they're going to judge the first reaction.
Yes, and remember it.
That's it, absolutely.
OK, lots of useful information there. A Very Modern Family is your book. Thank you so much for coming in. Tricky subject to talk about, and apologies again for the picture.
Oh, it's fine.
Thank you, Carrie and David.
They're lovely kids, they're just not ours.
OK, let's get a reminder of our top story now. London's first heat health alert of the year came into force at 9 o'clock this morning, and it's expected to last almost 3 days. The yellow warning is aimed at health services where the heat could exacerbate vulnerable people's medical issues, but there are also fears people could get into trouble when jumping into open water across the region to cool down over the weekend. Finally, tickets for their comeback tour sold out in seconds, and last night the lucky ones who managed to get their hands on some got to see McFly performing at the Underworld in Camden. It's one of several concerts they have in the capital this summer. Natalie Ball went along to meet them.
Back together again, making music. This is McFly's 7th album. The secret to their success?
We get on really well. It's quite rare, I think, for 4 band members to all get on really well. And I think when we came out, like, suddenly, you know, Busted had paved the way, and then McFly came out, and, you know, boy bands weren't cool anymore. And because we obviously appealed to that pop audience, but we wrote our music, we play our instruments, and so I think for that fan, there was more of an investment for them in our band than maybe other bands.
And obviously, you've all had your solo projects, so has it felt good coming back together?
A band is like... it's like your protection to the world, and it's not all on you. And I feel like that's the special thing about being in a band, and also just doing things with your friends that you would never ever think you would do with, you know, mates. So it's amazing to have the band as that, like, I don't know, it just feels more special, I think.
The band's like home.
And you've got a new album, it's got quite a rock feel to it, hasn't it?
The core of McFly has always been a 4-piece kind of pop rock thing, but we just really doubled down.
Are a bit different these days.
It's really fun having our families come along and like playing and having our kids there watching us and showing them what our kids get to see what we do. But also for us, it's like it makes us feel like kids again. Like it's a chance for us to go on stage and, you know, and jump around like idiots, for a couple of hours.
And obviously you have done tours before, so have you got anything interesting on your rider? Anything extravagant?
It's like walking into Holland and Barrett. Taking all the fun stuff off.
Yeah,
It's stripped back now.
It's pretty like organic and kind of boring.
We have like massage guns, you know, sports drinks.
Who's the best person you've met?
The Queen.
Us. The Queen.
Met you guys, yeah.
We collaborated with. We played with Brian May. He came on stage with us at Wembley, which is incredible.
I had a beer with Liam Gallagher once. That was one of the
It was Danny's life highlight.
Guys, thank you so much for talking to me and good luck with the tour.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The very best of the noughties there. Lovely to have McFly back, isn't it? Back to the weather then, and those heat wave warnings. Temperatures of around 30 degrees this weekend, but also rain and thunderstorms. Chris Page now has the forecast for the days ahead.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. Yes, today there's been quite a lot of sunshine across the capital and we're going to see more sunshine through the weekend too. We're just going to turn the heat up a bit. It's going to become quite hot, quite humid through the weekend, and it also brings the risk of some rather heavy, slow-moving thunderstorms too, and there are some weather warnings in force for that. As we move through the rest of this evening into Saturday and Sunday, we have these showers out towards western areas. That will destabilise the atmosphere, but we're importing the heat from the parts of the near continent where temperatures are going to be peaking at around 30, maybe even up to 31 degrees through Saturday, and similar for Sunday too. We've got some clear skies around for the rest of this evening and overnight, but we're gradually pushing in the humid air from the southwest. So by dawn tomorrow morning, could be a bit sticky. Temperatures coming in between 15 to 16 as your overnight low. So you can already see they're ahead as we start first thing tomorrow. We see the sunshine around, the winds lighter tomorrow as well. As the temperatures rise, cracking off some rather heavy, slow-moving showers through the afternoon, maybe with some hail and thunder, and top temperatures up to 30, maybe a smidge higher than that, which will be around 86 in Fahrenheit. Still the risk of some thunderstorms on Sunday, but they'll ease down with more sunshine thereon. Pollen's next.
Valent sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
And as for that all-important pollen forecast, it's no surprise that pollen levels through the weekend will be very high. That coincides with those high temperatures, and we're seeing the first peak of the grass pollen season. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
And that is it for now. Geraint is here next with the ITV Evening News. But from all of us on the London team, have a lovely weekend and enjoy the hot weather. Bye-bye.